Metacritic Roundup.
Two games in the Metacritic Roundup on September 4th, 2022. The first is a little game called Immortality. Now, this was reviewed on... this has an 89 on the PC, 93 on Xbox Series X, and it is unscored for its iOS port. I don't even know if the iOS port is out yet, but that'll be, I think, releasing through Netflix Games, which is kind of cool. So if you are not playing this game right now, you probably might have access to it if you've got a Netflix subscription, or it's on Game Pass. So what is Immortality? I'm just going to read you the summary of this, and I've actually played it, so I will then explain to you what the actual video game is, because it's kind of weird. Have you played this, by the way?
No, I've heard about it, but I have not played it.
So, this is the summary here. Marissa Marcel was a film star. She made 3 movies, but none of the movies were ever released. And Marissa Marcel disappeared. An interactive trilogy from Sam Barlow, creator of Her Story. So, this is all like FMVs, so it's all, videos of actors and stuff. And basically, you are trying to figure out where Marissa Marcel went after 1999. She was in 3 movies, so you're scrubbing through the footage of the movies. So like you'll be able to watch a scene, and you get the whole slate of like, scene 4, act 1, here we go, and then like action, and you get that whole thing up until the director yells cut and we stop watching, and then like the camera turns off. You get all of these like interviews with the cast. You get all of these like table reads and stuff like that for like 40 years. So these 3 movies. And your goal is to figure out where she went by stopping the footage every so often. You click on important items that are on screen, and you'll match cut with a similar looking item in a different scene or something like that. And it's weird, man. It's real weird.
So what do you do like for gameplay in it?
Okay, so you basically you watch clips and you unlock more clips. So basically you start the game with a single clip and you watch it. It's like the one that I got is an interview with Marissa Marcel and like some like late night host. And you pause the video, and then you have a cursor and you like interact, you like tap or like click on different items that are on screen. So like you can click on Marissa Marcel's face. You can click on the face of the interviewer. You can click on the mug she's drinking water out of. You can click on the microphone. You can click on the potted plant behind her. And what will happen is then it will match cut. So like it'll zoom in on like the mug that she's holding. It'll zoom in on the mug. And then it will fade into a different clip of footage of someone else holding a mug. And then you will have access to that piece of footage now. And you are basically compiling as much footage as you possibly can. So like now you have 2 pieces of footage, and then you click on the face of the other actor she's in the scene with. Okay. And now it's like, okay, we're cutting to a new scene, but it's with the same actor. All sorts of stuff, right? And you are trying to put together like the story of here's what happened with all of this in these 3 movies, and like on the set of all these 3 movies, and figuring out where everyone went and what happened. Because you're able to scrub through all of the footage, like fast forward, and then you can like scrub it backwards. And certain scenes that you watch backwards, you will have new information put on top of it. And it freaks me the fuck out. It's really good. It's really interesting. But it's really weird because it's just all this FMV stuff. And I can see you look kind of confused as I'm trying to describe this. And like, I don't know how to really explain this game other than just saying like, just try it Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it does. Actually, it's kind of great for the video viewers of this. They will see, like, you were literally talking about the clicking and zooming in as it was happening in the trailer.
Oh, perfect.
So like, no, it's interesting just because like when you're saying these clips and stuff, like, are they full movies? Like, how much video is in here that you have to scrub through? Because that could be a lot.
So like, to my understanding, so the goal is to figure out what happened to her. And to find that information. So I imagine, could probably get there very quickly, or you could like stumble into that accidentally. But there's a lot more to discover as well. I found what happens to two of the reoccurring cast members that are in the three movies. So I found some character endings for them and stuff like that. There is a lot of footage to look through. It's the sort of thing where like you definitely. I imagine there are multiple paths to getting to the end, because otherwise you're right. Like there are there's an overwhelming amount of footage that you have that you eventually start to have access to. It's weird.
So I'm looking.
I'm
looking at how long to beat. It looks like the main story is 5 hours. Main plus extras 9.5. Completionist is 18.5 hours, which seems like a ton.
So I imagine there's like 9 hours of footage to scrub through.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say, so like it is a very graphic, it portrays some very graphic scenes, in terms of like both like sexual content and nudity and stuff like that. It has a really, really extensive like trigger warning and stuff like that at the very beginning of it, which is something we always applaud here. But there is like, this is the kind of game that is perhaps you should play maybe alone if you don't want to have to explain like what you're watching or what you're doing to someone who may be walking in,
or
you know,
play it together so you don't have to explain it.
Right.
as they're
Exactly.
walking in.
Exactly. This is one of those games though that I think if you, have someone who's interested in playing video games, that like sitting down and playing this with them would actually be kind of cool, because there's really not a lot of input, and like you can just man the controls while whoever else is able, you know, like talking with you about it and whatnot.
Yeah, this sounds pretty interesting. Is it a lot? Is the story grabbing you, or is it just so kind of weird with how you're interacting with it that it's not quite getting there for you?
It's just one of those things where like, so I played it for one sitting for about 2.5 hours. And the whole time I'm just sitting there going like, what the fuck is happening here? You know, but not in a confusion way, but just in it, like, it's very intriguing and it's really like engaging with my mind. And I'm really just sitting there like trying to understand, like, where did this go? You know, and you start to like see scenes that you've already seen, and you're like able to recognize them and go like, oh, okay, so this happened here. It's a mystery, right? And so I find the mystery to be really intriguing. And the general premise of this woman was in 3 movies. None of them were ever released. But she was like on track to be this like rising star, and then she just disappeared. And the question of like, you know, where did she go? Did she just decide to drop the life of the Hollywood life? Was she like kidnapped? Like, what happened to her? And as I'm saying it, like my full body's like I've got like goosebumps, because it's so eerie, and it's so like, it's odd. And it's the sort of thing where like each new scene you see makes you go like, huh, okay. And like, I think that, like I said, the content warning at the very beginning of the game is really good. This is a game that really does play into and talk about like exploitation, particularly of women in Hollywood, in a way that I think could be potentially very upsetting for people. And for me, who is, I mean, it's upsetting because it's intentionally upsetting, right? But it is one of those things where you just like, what happened? Because like from the very beginning, it's clear like she was not treated very well on set by like directors and stuff like that. Because she was a young woman in Hollywood, right? And of course, that's intentionally upsetting, but it is one of those things where you're like, so what was the final straw for her? Or what happened that caused her to disappear? Or what? You know what I mean? So, it's whack. It's crazy.
Did you play her story?
Nope, but as soon as I'm done with this, I'm going to.
Oh, I think to me, that's like the most rousing endorsement of a game that even if it's not like your favorite game ever, the fact that you want to go back and experience the other work by an artist, I think is kind of cool.
Yeah.
If I know you're not done with it, and so this might be a hard thing, and I don't necessarily know I have to put a score on it, but where does this fall in terms of a potential Game of the Year candidate for you?
Well, it's tough because there has been like a lot of conversation around this of like, is this a video game? The answer is yes. In the same way that like, remember Bandersnatch? It was that Black Mirror thing, like choose your own adventure. Like a lot of people were like, was that a video game? The answer is yes, it is. It's a very bare bones video game, but it's a video game, right? Like this is one of those things where like, is this a video game? Like, yeah. It is It is the sort of thing that is like totally up my alley in terms of like trying to understand a mystery and get to the bottom of like what happened here. And like, it does not hold your hand at all. It just says, yeah, you know, watch a bunch of footage. Let me know. Like, come back and we'll talk about it. Does that make sense?
Oh,
so
yeah.
like, it is something that I'm really engaged, really liking, and I'm thinking about it a lot since I've played it last. But
yeah, so I'm just going on the Metacritic because they also have like one of the red flags of Metacritic that I see. The difference, like the Metascore 93, the user score 6.6, trying to get my way, and it just seems like most people who are giving it a low ranking on this are just kind of like, it's a FMV game. Which, yeah, I mean, that doesn't seem to be like enough of a criticism. Some people are talking a little bit about it being a little disturbing, but
and that's the thing. It is. I'm leaning into the mic here. Very disturbing.
Yeah.
And because it's, I don't know, like I tend to be like, I'm able to watch more disturbing things happen in a video game than in like a movie.
The Last of Us Part 2.
Right, but like you can, I don't know, when I'm watching a video game happen, like as good as graphics are and have become, like you can still tell it's a video game, you know? Whereas like when I see something like horrific happen in a movie, like I know that like it's people on a set and it was probably, you know, this person's favorite day on set because they got to be cut in half and had all their guts fall out, right? And like, how fun is that? But like for me sitting at home, I'm like, I can't, right? And so this game is like that, right? Where like every time I find a clip where I find hidden information within it, I like do it like basically like peeking through my fingers as I'm like scrolling, like, oh gosh, because like you never know what you're gonna see.
Yeah.
And sometimes just a face is just freaky, right? Because you're like, what are they doing? You know.
If you've done anything, you've at least piqued my interest to play this, and it is on Game Pass. You know what that means?
It's on Game Pass.
I don't have to pay for it more than
and
I've
like I
already
said,
paid
also,
for it every month.
Netflix games, right? Like,
yeah,
you'll be able to download it through that, and like I think that's just a super excellent thing.
Yeah,
and it can be played on touchpads. I imagine like this might be the sort of thing too that gets thrown up on Netflix, like the Netflix app, because you can play it on a computer. Like it's just running, you know, it's not like really running a game as much as it's just playing clips, right? And then like in the same way that like Bandersnatch, you could play like with a remote, like same thing here.
Yeah, the concept of this game is cool and unique, I think. So I'll definitely be checking this out.
Yeah. And it's also one of those things where when you start, you go, I don't know what this is. What am I doing here? This is weird. And then after a certain, you know, an hour, you're like, wait, hold on. Like, play it back. He was smoking a cigarette. And you know what I mean? Like, it's just like bring us back to that. It's cool. I like it. I will hopefully beat it by the time we talk next, but actually maybe not because I am moving, and also my time has been taken up with the other game in our Metacritic roundup here.